when we're young, when you get dumped by your girlfriend or boyfriend, for example, it's like it probably feels like the end of the world, right?
Yeah. I think basically we were talking a little bit about kind of going up and down, and I think it's very important that we process and then really embrace our emotions, right? Instead of trying to fight it, instead of trying to bury it. And then so I guess like a little bit about you yourself, right? I mean, right now we're in our mid-20s, but I'm sure we also had kind of our teenage years or even until college as well now, where we kind of have the up and downs. So what's the experience like for you, or in terms of those emotions?
Sure. Happy to share, and would love to also hear from you, B, about your experience. But definitely, I think, as Pa Berry mentioned before, right, in every stage of your life, like you would have your own challenges and your own problems. And in the end of the day, I think Pa Berry put it really sweetly, where life is a cycle, right? It's where you have your highs and you have your lows. I think I echo Pa Berry because, like, I guess even in our stage in our career, maybe it's about, or even our life, right? Like, oh yeah, you broke up with your girlfriend, or you weren't able to get the grades that you wanted, you weren't able to get the job you wanted, or there are some days where it's the other way around, right? You're able to get like your dream girlfriend, or you're able to get that grades that you want. I think there is always that ups and downs in life. And actually what I learned from it, I guess starting with the downs, is that knowing that there is this cycle in life that Pa Berry mentioned, it's really about accepting the fact there is this cycle. When you're at that lows, is that you will reach that low, but what are you gonna do to bounce back, right? Because there will always be the low, but how do you get back to that position where you're at, that you mentioned, maybe that equilibrium, right? Where you're not too high and you're not too low, but you just feel just right.
Yeah.
And I think the second point about like feeling the highs, as Pa Berry mentioned, I think that it's ego, right? Like it's the thing that you have to watch for. Like when you're too high, and your ego brings you even higher, or you're way higher than where you're at. And once you hit that realization that, hey, I'm actually not there yet, then that gap makes you feel that, hey, I'm not good enough, and brings you down low again, right?
Yeah.
So it's like, how can you just like have that sense check? Maybe it's also reflection, right? Like journaling every day and etc. Just to get that sense check of yourself of where you're actually at, and making sure that you're not too far off from where you're actually at. I think that's my perspective on it.
Yeah, definitely.
We'd love to hear from you, though.
Yeah, I completely resonate with what you both said. I mean, I think a big part of it is really about self-awareness and catching yourself, right? Because I think when you kind of just go through life and then things just start going higher and higher, and then you're gonna let your emotions carry you, that's when sometimes something bad happens and you just end up dropping, which happened to me, I mean, constant times, like a lot of times when I feel like, wow, everything's going so well, I'm at this stage, I'm in that stage, and suddenly something happens, whether it's bad news, something that I couldn't control, or maybe something that I did wrong, and then it's gonna be another emotional roller coaster. So I think the first thing is definitely being able to accept, like you said, accept the fact, and then catch yourself when during those times. Because when you really start catching yourself and you're able to observe, something like expect something to happen before it happens, that's when you're able to really be at your optimal, right, in a sense. Because I think, in one perspective, I can see how just like letting everything go, go with the flow can be good, but at the same time, I think it's also important to be able to know exactly, like, okay, life is about this. I know that things can go up and down, so I'm gonna prepare for it as well. When you prepare for it, in a way, you also kind of humble yourself. I think especially when you're being very confident, when things are going really well, you want to be able to humble yourself, because I think there's a good balance between confidence and being humble. And so I think that's definitely a bit about me. But yeah, I mean, over time, I think for me personally, I mean, being able to process emotions is one of the best lessons that I learned, because then you just know yourself better. I think you're not gonna let yourself, and especially you're not gonna let the little things get to you so hard. Sometimes when we're young, especially, it's like one small thing can really just ruin your entire day, can like make you so angry. Where when you look at it now, it's like, come on, like that's stupid. Like just it's something you couldn't control, just deal with it, move on, and then like don't let it like ruin everything, right? And so I think definitely having that sense of understanding of yourself and your emotions helps you process everything much better, especially the highs and lows.
And how do you think someone can do that, right? Maybe we'd love to hear from both of you as well about what techniques that you do in order to check your emotions.
Actually, last year I read a book. It's called The Art of Not Giving an F. Yeah, I don't know.
You read that book too, right?
Yeah, I did.
Can I say something like that? So the Art of Not Giving an F by Mark Ronson or something. Yeah, it's actually the content is not that crude basically, but the thing is, one of the things that I take away from that book is that all your problems are not permanent. Like even when you have some like permanent disability, you will evolve and you will get over that. I mean, so all your problems are not permanent. So this is a very good good lesson for our young mentees. Like maybe like when we're young, when you get dumped by your girlfriend or boyfriend, for example, it's like it probably feels like the end of the world, right?
Yeah.
But you'll survive and you'll move on. So all problems are not permanent. And second thing is that you only have a limited amount of F to give out. So don't sweat the small stuff basically. So that's what I learned over the years. So that's interesting.
Yeah, interesting. Yeah, for me, first of all, I completely agree with that as well. I think at the end of the day, there's definitely a lot of things that matter in your life, but most things actually don't really matter. Right? I mean, like I think in the grand scheme of things, it doesn't matter. Like there's two things I want to say. I think the first one is like the way I look at it is like I look at my life like writing a book. Like everything you're just kind of writing, and then when you kind of, there's no way that you can go back and then try to revise things that you wrote. I mean, once you wrote it, they're already written down. And then you can see that in your life, it actually, you start off when you're younger, when you're a baby, it's probably going to be bad handwriting, it's going to be bad kind of stories, it's going to be things, you're going to talk about things in your life that is just happening at that moment. And then as you get older, there's going to be a bigger scheme of things that happen. And then so when I look at the entire book, when it's all said and done, it's like you're going to see the amount of growth and the amount of mistakes that are edited in the book, but it's not going to compromise the whole quality of the writing. And so that's kind of the way I look at it. It's like there's going to be missteps along the way, there's going to be mistakes along the way, which should happen, but as long as it makes your writing better in your own life and writing your own life, like that's how it's going to be able to continue to move, right? And so I think when you look at that small, or those mistakes, is going to be insignificant compared to the rest of your life. So that's one thing. The second thing I want to say is that I usually try to break down everything. When something I guess goes bad, I don't think of things as bad. I think of it as like learning experiences and things that could have been worse. And then because I think when I think of it that way, I'm more grateful for the situation. So like I like to process my thought process into three components. Number one is about accepting it, and which is basically the situation happened. Don't try to like fight it. Don't try to change it. It happened. Take it and accept it. Feel whatever you need to feel about it, and just do it. Because the faster you can process it, and then the faster you can accept it, the more you can go on to the second step. And the second step is going to be basically about what's going to make you feel better right now. And then so if it's about disease, if you're sick right now, then like maybe like, okay, doing something else is going to make you feel better. Whatever it is, like help make yourself feel better. Because a lot of things that we go through in our life, it's going to be things that is similar to what we experienced before. And then so I think like definitely like being able to see, okay, what's going to make me feel better, I think is important. So a very good example of that is like, if I'm having, let's say like if I'm having problems or something, or let's say I'm breaking up, something to do with relationship, and then something goes bad. I know that being surrounded by my friends, or like having like some just time with the boys, something could be a good thing, or even spending good time with family, that could be a good thing. So knowing, accepting, and like knowing and seeing that aspect. The third thing is basically about what am I learning from this experience, and then usually when I go through those three things, it's always going to go back and forth. But I think the whole process is pretty much there, and especially the third one, because when I see what I'm learning from this, then I focus on the gain. I don't focus on the loss. I don't focus on being able to see how bad things are right now. Just focus on that. But I think that those three things are crucial because you can't do one without the other. You have to process and understand it in order for you to know and understand the situation, what's going to make you feel better, in order to know exactly, so you can basically be at your optimal state in order to see what the learning from the experience is. And so those are the three key things that I kind of take away when it comes to dealing with anything misfortunate or anything that goes down in my life. Yeah. What about you, Ray? You have any strategies?
I think I just echo what both of you already mentioned, right? About, I think we've been talking about like the big events that actually impact us and how do you actually deal with it, right? I think while you guys were talking about that as well, like the thing that popped into my head is what about like those micro interactions that maybe bothers you or gives you like some negative emotion or negative feeling, right? At least for me, I've been reading the book called like Meditation by Marcus Aurelius. I think it tries to implement the Stoics philosophy, right, in life. And at least if we talk about the micro interaction, is that like, do you want like a certain event to actually bug you in a certain day, right? For example, if like someone messages you and bothers you, do you want that emotion to affect you that could eventually affect your entire mood and bring you to that low as well, right? Or can you just like just accept the fact that this emotion will happen, right? This emotion, this feeling of negativity, it will happen at some point in your life, but how the point is about how can you actually react to that? Because that emotion will always happen. So at least for me, like so far, and I think touching upon like the thing about learning about your mistakes, catching your emotions, for me what helps is I think very simple of two things. One is journaling. Like every night now I try to journal, reflect what happened in the day, what went well, what didn't go well, what emotion was I feeling and why. And then the second thing is actually meditation. Starting to try to do that as well. Just because in meditation I feel like you learn how to deal with that emotion, right? Like when you're meditating, when you feel an itch, like do you want to scratch it or do you want to just let that feeling stay? And maybe that's the same as when you feel that emotion, right? When you feel that anger emotion, it makes you decide like, do I want to act upon it or do I want to like let it be and then it will go away? So maybe like that's what I think in a more micro scale. Right?
Interesting thing. I tried meditation, but I couldn't do it.